You've eaten Gotham's wealth, its spirit, but your feast is nearly over.
This is not my home. It's an operating table. And I'm the surgeon. Why aren't you laughing?
From this moment on, none of you are safe.
Welcome to the Batman Book Club, a podcast exploring the Dark Knight Library. I'm your host, Ryan Lauer. The Batman Book Club is a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network, hosted by Batman on Film. Just go to batmanonfilm.com, click on podcasts, and you'll find the Batman Podcast Network that has a whole list of other bat-related shows that join Peter Vera in frolicking into other nerdy subjects. Batman Book Club is also on Patreon. If you like what's going on with the show and you want to help support the show, go to patreon.com/the Batman BC. Now, thank you for listening to episode 137. I am Bane. Joining me for the first time on this show, a gentleman who I've talked to actually almost the entirety of this podcast. He was the winner of the very first giveaway on the Batman Book Club. And I've gotten to speak with this gentleman in person too. It's Mr. Austin Rodriguez. Austin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. I'm honored. I'm humbled.
Humbled.
This is just a dream come true.
I think you got me confused with like somebody who's really important Spawncast. Okay, there's no honor here.
You were the first Batman related podcast I listened to.
Oh, okay. Well then, you know what, Austin, allow me to say I'm honored. I'm humbled. You put me in my place. Yes, we've gotten to speak many times over the past couple of years. We met in person last year down in Texas for the Batman Watch Party. We also I got to meet up with you to a delicious Greek restaurant in Chicago just a few months ago. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been fun the times I've gotten to do that with people that were just voice only, and now it's like, no, in person, we both exist. So it's good to have you on here because we also share a mutual fondness for Tom King's Batman run.
I think it's like beyond fondness. I think it's like slightly below love, but more than fondness for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Because I think, well, okay, before we start getting into that though, I have to ask you because this is your first time on the show. I need to know, Austin, I have asked you in person, but I need to ask you this for everybody to hear. What is your favorite Batman story?
I think I've thought long and hard about this.
Okay. A lot of pressure.
My final decision, I have to go with Hush.
Hush. Okay. Why Hush?
Just because the art,
okay,
you get some detective stuff. You get most of the rogues gallery in there.
Mm-hmm.
What is it not to like?
Gotcha. Okay. You're not alone in that department. I'm sure you're well aware that Hush has a massive fandom that loves that story. And I like that story. I'd almost say I love that story as well. Nobody ever talks about Heart of Hush for some reason. Still haven't covered that on this.
Reading that. I was reading that the other day. Yeah.
First time?
Second
time. Okay. So you like that one?
I like Heart of Hush too. I think it's a little bit darker than Hush.
Oh yeah. Oh boy. Hush is just it's a Jim Lee showcase that includes almost every Batman character you can think of.
Right.
And so it is, like you said, it's a lot of people I think that way of what is there not to love when it includes everything you can think of with Batman and it all looks very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even adding Jeff Loeb running the story either. That's just like an added bonus. So nothing but love here for Hush. There you go. I feel like I've asked you that in person, but I don't know if you answered something different.
I think I still said Hush. I think it was either Hush at the time. It was either Hush or it was Long Halloween, I think.
Okay. You're a teacher's pet at that point. You're like, I don't want to disappoint Ryan. I'll just say it's Long Halloween. I swear it's Long Halloween. I love it. Best story ever of all time. But no, it's okay. Your honesty is appreciated. So let's stop dilly-dallying, which is all my fault. and let's just get into the meat of this episode. Let's talk I Am Bane. Now, as we know, because this is a Tom King month, this was written by Tom King, illustrated by David Finch. It was released in 2017 in Batman issues number 16 through 20. They were released physical issues, released digitally. It's collected in a trade paperback, included in a deluxe edition hardcover. It's available on DC Universe Infinite, and of course, in the deluxe format, in the trade format. You can find it on my favorite app of all time, Hoopla, which the complaint department's own Eric Holzman just signed up for, as did Justin Kowalski. So the word is spreading on Hoopla. Keep it up, people. Austin, what version did you read for this episode?
I read the physical, the
deluxe.
Hearted deluxe.
My man.
You and me talked about how hard it was to get some of these and waiting on that sixth and final volume to come out too. So
that might have been our biggest connection of talking back and forth, was these deluxe editions as they were coming out, and then the total waiting on, are they going to wrap it up with volume 6? Because it felt like I didn't check and see what the time period was between volumes 5 and 6, and then they finally announced 6, and we were like, oh, thank God, because it was really making me nervous.
It was a good year and some change, I think, in between 5 and 6, and they only had the trade paperbacks.
Yes, and I was like, I'm not about to switch on the last one and making it a trade paperback. That's not happening. And they released City of Bane as itself in a trade paperback as well, and I was like, absolutely not. I have faith that they're going to do the deluxe, and they did. Thank heavens. And so, that's the version, because I did a whole Tom King read through, as I mentioned last episode, talking with Michael Cronenberg. I read all of those. So I've got all my deluxe editions out of the archives, ready to read. And this is, for me, I appreciate digital always, but man, physical.
Page full of ASMR.
That's right. When was the first time that you read I Am Bane?
First time I read I Am Bane, I had it in a trade paperback, because I only started reading comic books about 5 years ago.
Okay.
I've always been a Batman fan since I was a child. I was born in 92. So I think we talked about this, but my first big experience with Batman was Batman Forever, Mr. Freeze, all that. So the less liked movies. The less liked movies.
Hey, Batman Forever was a monster hit in 95. You listen to Bill Ramey, he'll tell you.
I remember, I think I went to the theaters when I was 4 years old or something like that. So it was a good time. But I read I Am Bane probably 2 years ago. I'd say 2 years ago. I just really liked all of the entire story, because Bane is my favorite Batman villain.
Ooh, all right. Well, this is all making sense.
Yeah, I know Joker. We all love Joker.
Sure.
That's kind of that's a given.
It's
for most
people. I feel like it's, as long as you're in the vicinity of one of the main Batman villains, there's no wrong answer. It's if somebody were to be like, no, I honestly think that Condiment King is the best Batman villain, that's when it'd be like, hold on a second. I feel like you're kind of blowing smoke right now. So there's nothing wrong with Bane. Nothing wrong with Bane as being your favorite. That makes this is all making sense now. You're gonna enlighten me a little bit in this conversation. I can feel it. I read this story as it came out. It came out twice monthly. I don't know the exact term, because I've heard of variety, bi-monthly, which I feel like that means every other month, but I've heard bi-monthly, twice monthly, all that. But I was reading it. I was reading all of time. I mean, I've been reading Batman now since 2006. I've read it, kept up with that title as issues came out. So this was one that I really enjoyed it coming out and waiting, and that was part of the fun. But I do love getting to sit and just read it in one sitting now, all collected. That's I don't know. As we all know, that's probably the
The
preferred way of
preferred.
reading stories anymore. And then lastly, then, and you may have just answered this, but we talked many times, and I don't know how it came about you coming on the show, and everything started to snap together of having this Tom King month because you wanted to talk I Am Bane. So why is I Am Bane the story of your choosing?
I think it's a story of my choosing because, as we'll get into,
Okay.
the art is
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Bane is front and center, as you said last episode, a strategist.
Oh my god. Yeah. I was beating the hell out of myself for that. Like, what the hell am I even saying? A strategist. God.
Yeah, he's front and center. He's operating on like the top of his game.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the first Batman books I ever read was Nightfall.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why I fell in love with Bane really early. And that's kind of like how I always see Bane, like at the top of his game. He's physically strong, he's mentally strong, and then he can kind of just go at Batman on all different levels in comparison to some of his other villains that maybe only go at him physically or
Mm-hmm.
mentally.
Gotcha. I appreciate Bane in that matter. I do feel like there was a bit of a lull after Nightfall in what do we do with Bane? And maybe in the animated series, there wasn't much Bane. It's like he had the one episode. And then it was a little bit like, well, what do we do with Bane? And yeah, some of those stories, I don't know of any that fully. I can like think of ones that Bane was in, but as far as like, of course, Nightfall is like that almost feels like a definitive Bane story because of what happened at the time. It hadn't happened before, and all that. But I do feel like there is a bit of a lack of definitive Bane stories. I mean, it'd be hard for me to only pick this arc, and you could almost say that Tom King's Bane is, I mean, Michael and I talked about it last episode, is almost like one story, but that's like a definitive Bane story. I mean, it all connects. Bane is a little bit, I mean, just as much, not maybe in the shadows, Bane is just as prevalent as Batcat. Batcat's kind of in the forefront of all of it, but behind that is Bane is the villain throughout from beginning to end of this Batman run. And it culminates in the massive City of Bane epic, showdown and story and all that. But I think like this story connects to, the I Am Suicide arc that came, well, right before this was it Rooftops? The 2-issue Batcat story. And then before that was the I Am Suicide story, which of course was connected to the I Am Gotham that kicked off Rebirth and all that stuff. But it's like it's a good continuation, but I do kind of feel minus a few notes here and there, somebody could just read this and they wouldn't really be lost. It's
it's a very easy point where you can just pick up and start reading. You don't have to have too much prior knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, Bane's your favorite. You're the guest, and you chose the story. So I guess you can kick us off on where you want to attack first with all of this.
I think we can just start from day one.
Day one. Okay.
Day one. We're going like full spoilers, right?
Oh yeah, all the way. Okay. This book is gonna be 6 years old. I feel like people have read it. It's Tom King's Batman. People listening have read this. So yeah, spoilers. Egghead shows up. No, I'm kidding.
On page 1, Egghead.
On page 1, Egghead. Okay, day one. I love going into Arkham Asylum.
Who is this inmate? Why is they important? And you see that person sneaking up behind them. And as you can see, it's Bronze Tiger, which Batman had just worked with previously. And you're like, oh, maybe he's coming to tell him something about Bane. Nah, boom, Bronze Tiger kicks him in the back. I was like, oh, Batman hits his head, on the front of the glass. Batman, I guess, gets knocked out for like a couple of seconds. And then the guard pulls out his gun And I think this is Jeremiah Arkham, right?
Yes.
I believe. Yeah. So he pulls out his gun and shoots Jeremiah Arkham in the head, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I guess a couple panels later, it says that he didn't die. I guess he fainted.
He fainted at the perfect moment.
I'm like, okay. If he fainted,
Hey, comics, that's fine.
I get it.
Yeah, it's fine.
I get it.
Well, let me tell you that reading it for my read through, first time I've read this since the deluxe edition book 2 came out. So I read I Am Bane, as it was coming out, and I probably read it in one sitting when it wrapped, and then read it the deluxe, and then I haven't visited it since. So this time, it wasn't I remember what happened, but there were specific little moments. So like this, I kind of didn't remember, some Bronze Tiger kicking Batman, whatever. And at first I was like kind of confused. Like, wait, I didn't feel like it was completely clear in this read through. I just thought, okay, he came in, attacked Batman, and then the guard shot Bronze Tiger because he attacked Batman. And then tried to shoot Arkham, and then, then the I Am Bane on the guard's teeth and Bronze Tiger and all that is like, I don't think it was very clear to me that the guard was pulling out his gun to shoot Batman. It seemed like after the attack on Batman. So, I mean, it's not a big deal. I just know that I was kind of, wait, hold on a second. It took me, I don't know why this read to pause and reflect a little. Not a hugely important part of the story, but I do remember that.
Yeah. I think also I realized I like Batman with that purple lining on the inside of his cape. That is.
You do?
I like it. It's for me.
You're a Rebirth suit fan.
I think I am a Rebirth suit fan because Rebirth was the first Batman, like all the issues. I read all of them for the first time before I read Morrison or Snyder.
Sure. Okay.
So I think I like, maybe it's just recency bias, but
sure,
that's why I like this suit.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know people didn't like the suit.
That's fair. I didn't hate it, but I don't love it. It's not near the top of like my favorite bat suits, but I don't think that like, what the hell are they doing? It's god awful, or that kind of reaction is like, okay, they're changing up and they're kind of trading in blue for purple. That's a reflection back to early Batman days, a little bit and
with
stuff.
The
so it was
gloves,
like, yeah, it's, I don't know. I didn't throw a hissy fit, but it's fine. I don't have the action figure. I need to get the action figure just so I have like as many bat suits as possible. I got some of that on my shelves. I don't know.
So, like you said, now that we're a little less confused why the officer was trying to, I'll get confused later on. I'll tell you when I got confused.
Ooh, okay. And you're coming to me like I have answers. You're in for a surprise.
You're the Batman book club librarian. You have all the answers.
Yeah, I'm a fraud. I do like I do think Tom King is really good with his humor at times, though, in reading this of like the guard, the 3 panels in the guard looking, smiling, the I Am Bane on his teeth, and then it's met with a punch and a couple of the teeth knocked out. I do like there is something that's almost like a little like funny to me with that of bam, I Am Bane, bam, punching it out. I like it.
Yeah, I think Tom King does a good job with balancing serious situations with some humor.
He's got a good Nolan approach of I don't know, like the movie, the story is mature and it's serious, but the moments that make you laugh are not like eye rolling or like hey, this is where we're going to put in something really funny. Did you get it? Did you get it? Like it just kind of works and keeps going. A different way of showing some humor is definitely in turning that page to Welcome to Batburger.
Batburger.
Got a very nice response on the Batman Book Club Twitter page. Just posting this image. I cut off the menu because I wanted it to frame up very nicely. But I mean, everybody knows this page, and I think it's I think it's funny as hell. I think it's witty. I want to go there. Like,
Yeah, it's a
come on,
very
Warner
cool
Brothers.
looking restaurant.
It is.
I
And
don't know why they haven't done this already.
I mean, poor Mark, though, at the front counter, you can just kind of hear that he is one that is there for the paycheck. He doesn't necessarily care about his job. But I think I love that whole bit before they get into the seriousness of why there's the meeting of Bruce and the Robins. I think all of that, the whole scene there at the Batburger, I think is really entertaining. I like it.
What would you order off of that menu?
Robin nuggets.
Robin nuggets?
Yeah, because I'll choose, and I know Robin is not a chicken, but you know what? It's chicken nuggets, but they got to make it Robin. I'm chicken over beef, pretty 9 out of 10 times. I'm not saying I don't eat burgers or anything like that, but I'll eat chicken all day, every day. And so, yeah, looking at that, and then I was trying to think of some kind of name because Jacob Miller, he asked me on Twitter the same thing, and I said Robin nuggets, but I couldn't come up with, like, off the top of my head, like a sauce, a funny Gothamized sauce. So I just said condiment king sauce. I don't know. You know, it's not the best.
It works.
It works. What would you order?
Yeah, I think I'm torn between the night wings and the two-face sandwich.
The two-face sandwich. What do you think is the two-face sandwich?
It's probably like
raw?
that sandwich. That would be terrible. I was gonna say it's probably like that sandwich KFC came out with before, the double down. You never heard of the double down?
I don't remember this. No.
It was definitely not a good sandwich, but it was the chicken patties were the buns, and then there were 6 strips of bacon and cheese inside of that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was definitely an artery clogger. I only had it one time.
You only had it once. Yeah. That's all you needed.
This is enough.
Yeah. Oh man. I gotta admit though, Damien, he does get a Batmite meal.
Yes.
I think I'd want that, and I'd want to keep the cardboard. That happened to me back in the day with Happy Meals when I was a kid. I really did like the structure of the Happy Meal itself, and I wanted to keep it, but it's like you can't keep it. There's grease stains in it, and it smells like McDonald's. You got to throw it away.
Collector's item.
Yeah, exactly. Our pal Pete, though, I know when he went to Little Caesars, he just asked them for the Bat Calzone box, like an unused one. Can I just have a spare? So he has one unused.
Yeah, I did get that Bat Calzone though. It was all right.
It was Little Caesars. Bad. Little Caesars is
Little
fine.
Caesars.
Like, it's definitely middle of the road. It's fine. I can eat it. And yeah, I got it and I tried it once. It was fine. But it was before they had any posters, and that was the part that really pissed me off. So I didn't get any posters.
Yeah, I got one.
The post. Oh, which one?
It was just the one with him standing in the rain in red.
That's the best one though.
Yeah,
you got the best one.
I didn't see the rest of them. Yeah,
I wanted to ask them because they were all wearing hats. I'm like, how do I get a hat? I want a hat.
I just
want a hat. I want a poster. I want some of that cardboard. You don't understand. I'm kind of pathetic. I want it all around. So that we don't break it, like so day one, you know, it's kind of emphasizing, and Bronze Tiger's whole mission, to rewind a little bit, is to kind of warn Batman of, you don't understand the pain when you're off the venom. That's why Bane needs Psycho Pirate to help him, you know, control the pain and get past it. You took Psycho Pirate. So now Bane's pissed, and he's Bane in pain. He's coming, man. And Bruce is on this mission of, like, he needs to save Gotham Girl. It's made him his main mission to save Gotham Girl, and he needs Psycho Pirate to do that. So there becomes our conflict. We know the warning of Bane is coming. He warns all the Robins. Bane is coming. They don't necessarily take him serious, but when, you know, Bruce slams down on the table of, like, no, this is serious. You all need to leave Gotham because Bane's coming. I don't want you guys to fight Bane. Classic Batman move. I don't want to endanger any of you, so everybody get out of here. I don't need your help. I'll be the one that will fight him. Blah, blah, blah. we've seen this classic Batman, right? And then he does kind of the similar thing with Catwoman. But I gotta say that the end of this was a pretty, as messed up as it can sound, was a great cliffhanger of opening up, or taking the steps down to the Batcave, and there is Damian, Dick, and Jason all hanging with I Am Bane. I mean, that's a good capper.
It's terrible that you said cliffhanger while they're hanging.
Wah, wah. Not even trying.
That was one of the parts I was confused by. Originally, okay. I was like, of course these people couldn't be hanging there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like they wouldn't be dead already, right?
So my confusion was just in the next issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not discussed, and maybe we don't need it. But for me, maybe I did need it. Some kind of line, even if it's throwaway, aside from Bruce just saying, to Clark at the fortress of like, I just need him here because if they wake up, they're going to want to come to Gotham and fight Bane. But it's like, I almost feel like there's just a small little chunk missing of, okay, but they were hanging.
Right.
It's not like, how are they not dead? How did Bane hang them just right to where they're hanging, but they're not dead? And how severe are their injuries? You know what I mean? Like all of that. And I felt confused a little bit.
Right.
On like, okay, so they're still alive. I get all the hiding them at the fortress and all that stuff, but I just feel like they'd have to be injured somehow. And we just assume apparently they're not.
Right.
Okay.
Especially just because like while they're at Batburger, they're obviously not taking Bane very serious. They're like, oh, we'll beat him. It'll be
numbers.
Fine.
It's a numbers game. We can all take him.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to get hung at the end of that first issue, I think if there would have been like a panel or something just explaining how they're not dead, or like maybe Bane just hung them like 10, 20, 30 seconds ago, like them still kicking. Okay, cool. Then I get it. But it's not the worst thing in the world.
No.
I guess the Robins are not important to this particular story.
Got him out of Gotham. I wouldn't think about it in rereads if that little bit was there. Mm-hmm. But it is a little bit to me of like, it feels like I'm stopping because I'm thinking instead of just continuing and reading, But like I said, this story doesn't make sense. None of that. I love first off, it's a requirement. And one day I would really like to ask the specifics on this to a creator of using Batman creators' names and naming everything.
Yes.
And in this issue, I mean, it looks like Jeremiah Arkham transferring Hush to a super secret cell, but it's actually Alfred transferring Gotham Girl, but they're in Morrison Hall. Batman's waiting on McKean Clock Tower. I wrote down another. Where's the other one? Oh, Nolan Alley.
Nolan Alley, yeah.
So I just really like to know what's the requirement of using artists and author and writer names, and naming Gotham, because I feel like that have to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like it's easy to do. You can name a street after someone's last name, like Morrison Street. Oh, okay, I believe that. That's not that hard. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I think it's a cool little nod, a nice little touch, especially since Morrison has a name in Asylum and McKean has a name in Asylum. So,
yeah, there you go. I didn't even think about that. Both of them being connected to. Look at you.
Yeah.
You think you get answers
research.
coming here?
I'm
doing the work. Yeah, Pete would be so proud of you. Something that's brought into I Am Bane that I really appreciate and I like is bringing back from, since you mentioned Nightfall, bringing Bane's gang of Trog, Bird, and Zombie. It's not a requirement, but it's fun and noted because Nightfall, that first trade, of Nightfall, I can't tell you how many times I read that as a kid. And so I knew those characters. And so, they're ingrained in my memory. So yeah, if they pop up at all, and it's like, oh God, that's Bird. Oh, that's Trog. Zombie.
I always forget the last one. I always forget Zombie.
He's not the most memorable because he's just a bald guy walking in a suit.
Right.
Trog has like a military look to him and looks kind of intimidating. And then Bird's got a bird. So, and he's got a mullet, always a killer mullet. So he stands out.
I was going to say that splash page of Batman on top of McKean Tower. Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss. Now, second part, I was confused.
Oh, okay.
See how it says 8:15 p.m.
Sure.
But the clock isn't 8:15 p.m.
Uh-oh.
And then the other side of the clock is like some completely other time unrelated to the first side of the clock. So I didn't know if that had like some hidden meaning that I wasn't getting.
I can get 8:15 on the one side. It's like,
yeah,
I can get that one. I have no answers for the other side though.
Like,
I have no answers. So
it's like
David Finch, if you're listening, Austin has problems with you. You can follow him on Twitter and go after him. I'm innocent in all of this.
It's still my favorite. It's still my favorite panel. Still my favorite panel.
Almost looks like it's either be like a 12:07. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Is there? I'm trying to think. Maybe in Gotham time it's 8:15, but in another section they like to keep Gothamites aware of what the time is in London. Or
there it is. Problem solved.
Yeah, in London it's already the next day. It keeps Batman on its toes. So I like how the second part, I don't know, like Bane's speaking of doing the work, Bane's doing the work. And so the Robins are out of town. Well, Bane's still going after more Batman allies and having all of them lined up. And I do love that as you hear Bird's bird and Batman's, on the roof by the tower, and you hear that bird, and then it's zooming in on what's across the way, and Batman's figuring it out. And there's Bane on the roof across the way with Bronze Tiger, Catwoman, the Signal, and Gordon. Because Bane's ready to make a deal. I mean, 1 for 4. Psycho Pirate for all of your allies. That's a pretty good deal, but Batman's
That's
Batman.
not the worst deal.
No.
He's being very reasonable. But like you said, I like how when Bird's bird, I actually found out Bird's bird has a name.
What's his name? Caw-Caw?
It's Talon.
Oh,
Talon.
okay. I probably read that and I just forgot because it's just like I like saying it's Bird's bird.
Yeah, it just rolls off the tongue.
That could be the eye rolling way of like, Ryan, you can't admit that you don't know the name. You got to make up a story. No, I don't remember the name because I've always thought Bird's bird.
Bird's bird works too.
Good old BB.
What's your familiarity with Psycho Pirate before this?
Nothing. I know he's been around. There are works in DC Universe that he's involved in that I didn't read until after this story. Did he show up, or did you watch much of Arrowverse?
I did. I watched most of the Green Arrow.
Did he show up in the crossover with Batwoman?
I think he did.
Okay, because I thought he did.
I haven't seen too much Psycho Pirate.
Yeah,
I want to say they used him more in like the 90s.
Okay.
For whatever reason.
I read Crisis on Infinite Earths last year. Something makes me, for the first time, and something makes me think that he was in that. And whoever's listening to this now and has a definitive answer on that and wants to rip my hair out, I apologize. But I feel for some reason that he'd popped up in that as a big book, as a big undertaking. I don't remember
Yeah.
many specifics.
There was
It was
a lot
an
of people in
intimidating
there.
story. Yeah, there's a
A lot
lot.
of people in there.
So the day 3 issue, the third issue in this, issue number 18, is a very interesting issue to me for a variety of reasons. Most prominent is that we do get a good mix of flipping back and forth in stories. So we have the main one, Batman versus Bane again. Now this is different than what we saw in I Am Suicide, because that one was almost like that was a raw version of Bane. Pure strength, just his body taking on Batman. This one, Bane is freaking massive because he's all hooked up on Venom, and he is just here to destroy anything and everything. So we have this massive showdown drawn perfectly by David Finch of Bane versus Batman, and it just really feels like Batman doesn't stand a chance. Cut with this is basically the flashbacks of Bruce and Bane's upbringing, their lives.
Mm-hmm.
What I find most interesting about all of it, though, is like Bane was kind of born out of necessity. For him to survive, you're seeing what he had to do in Santa Prisca. Bruce's path was chosen.
Right.
Which one do you think is more dangerous? You know, because Bruce, both are driven, but Bruce could have completely abandoned this idea at any moment. I mean, you can argue or not, but I mean, it wasn't based on his survival that he had to train himself and go through all of this. Also a little easier because he was born in wealth. But Bane is in a prison, pretty terrible conditions, it was death or this for him. So with that, different motivations, relatable paths or preparation and stuff. So I guess, what do you think on who is more capable, who is more methodical, who's more dangerous, who's stronger?
I think that, like you said, Bane was it needed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he didn't, there was no option not to become who he was.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he doesn't become Bane, then he dies as like a child. So he was hardened in a way I think Bruce wasn't hardened. I think it's like you see when they're juxtaposing them. Bruce has an easier time of the loss of his parents. I know we all know like the Batman backstory, but if it's compared to Bane's backstory, it's a little bit harder. Like on that one panel where it says there's like a butler for him and time to go home and we'll have some sandwiches ready. And meanwhile, Bane's over here eating fish that he's killing with his teeth and trying to swim every night in his cell. So I think their upbringings are similar. I just think Bane's is a little bit harder. And I guess it gives him a little bit more drive. I think they're both very driven individuals. And that's why, another reason why I like their dynamic together.
I think Bane's a little bit more, he's more unhinged. Because Batman is more controlled based on this upbringing. I really love the one that you got to use, a favorite word of mine, juxtaposition. But two, I love that I love them using that. Whether it's, I feel like it was probably scripted by King to do this. If not, then Finch proposed. I don't know. However, whoever was in charge of this idea and then how it looked in the end result. So I guess both. Credit both Tom King and David Finch for. I love the pages that are doing the side by side with both of them because there is a lot to say between the two. With that, I actually feel like in a strength of this story over Nightfall, I felt like there was a flaw in Nightfall with Bane, in the sense of, and if Ryan Haas is listening, he knows where I'm going with this. Bane wanted to take out Batman, and all that makes sense. Release Arkham inmates, exhaust Batman as Batman goes to capture all of them, put him back in Arkham, and then strike when Batman is completely exhausted. But you're not necessarily proving that you are physically more dominant than Batman. You want him to be tired before you attack him, rather than the honorable way of, I'm at my best, you're at your best, let's go. In I Am Bane, I feel like he kind of has, at least physically, already beaten Batman, stripped away with nothing. Now he comes back with Venom, and if you're going physical fight matchup, I think Bane's got him beat again. We can argue, and we'll get to the end too, but up to this point in this issue, before we get to the very end of this issue even, it definitely seems like, oh, this is one-sided. Bane's just whipping ass. I think that stems from anger, which is what I don't know. Maybe that can relate back to his upbringing in Santa Prisca. I don't know, of just a little bit more unhinged. He knows brawling, they're not even brawling, just destruction, just destroy things.
I feel like, when did Batman I'm trying to find out, when did Batman land a punch on him in this issue? I don't think he did, because he misses that uppercut.
Mm-hmm.
And
he misses a left hook.
He misses the left hook, and that's it.
So, like, I don't know. I can see both sides though too. Of how I just say, it just seems like Bane is dominant in this fight, but then you know what Batman's doing by issue's end. It's part of his plan. So is Batman stronger because he just took all of that. He took the beating, in which you can't tell me that this was, well, you can tell me, but that page of Bane walking away, Batman laying there, really made me think of the one Dark Knight Rises poster that I have and is framed, of the mask in the forefront and Bane walking away in the background. Definitely made me think of that. But I feel like the issue ends in awesome, and we're knowing where this line goes. I know we've seen a little bit before this, but knowing where this title goes with Batcat, I just remember it was awesome. This issue ended awesome, I thought. But Batman and Catwoman being allies. And we know we just read the Rooftop story right before this, the 2 issue, when, all that with those two. But I love that she's in on the plan as well, has captured Bane's crew, and clawed on their chests, I am Cat. Yeah. I love it. And Bane had turned around. Batman isn't laying there anymore. He's gone. And then the looking into Arkham Asylum, dark, lightning strikes, Batman's at the door, dark, lightning strikes, the door's open, Batman's gone. It's like, Batman. Hot damn. Batman. Like,
those are some good,
awesome.
Those are some good panels.
Yeah, I love it. And it made me think of 2 things. It made me think of Morrison and McKean's Arkham Asylum, the iconic shot of like Batman standing outside of it and Joker's face, is there too. But then it also made me think of, well, no, not even with Joker's, but the actual like picture itself. And then in Death of the Family, as Batman might be at the end of the 3rd issue in that story as well, as Batman's walking into Arkham, which that story made me think of Arkham Asylum. And so, then that part on this story made me think of those 2 stories. I don't know if you have anything to comment on that or not.
I think those were some really good panels.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to say, how did you feel about Bane's dialogue in this issue, when he's on his "I'm not a joke, I am not a riddle"? I thought that stuff was great.
I loved it. Loved all of that. Yeah. So I'm good. I'm glad you as I overlooked that on my notes, but I love that part of I'm not a joke, I'm not a riddle, I'm not a bird or a cat or a penguin, I'm not a scarecrow or a plant or a puppet. I'm not your broken friend. I am not your regretful teacher. I am not a child's fairy tale. I am not a circus act here to amuse and frighten you. I am not another one of your madmen howling at the moon. And I am not some rich boy playing dress up. I am Bane. Ah, yes, Bane.
Who did you
Love
think
that.
he was talking about when he says I'm not your broken friend? I took that as a Harvey Dent reference.
Yeah. Like sitting and actually thinking about it. Yeah, I don't know. Cause yeah, I think I might have thought that with Two-Face, Harvey Dent, etc., etc. I love so when he's mentioning each one, so that's also a fun thing too, is it's making you think, I am not a joke, and you're like, oh, okay, Joker, I'm not a riddle. Oh, okay, Riddler. So you're thinking I'm not a mouse, or I'm not a bird or a cat or a penguin. So then you're like, oh, going through the list. And so that way, but then summed up together, what's the point of him saying all this? It's I'm not some gimmick. And that can also be fun to think about of the history of these other villains and where Batman comics, used to be, and their gimmicks, and they were fun or whatever. And it's like, no, when Bane arrived on the scene, I'm not like them. I'm Bane. Like I'm here to break you.
Business from the jump.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I thought that was great. And we get a counter to that in the final issue, which definitely makes sure that I bring up and I talk about.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a counter to, so day 4 is Bane just blasting his way through Arkham to get to Batman. We get the opposite of that in issue number 70, which is the issue following the Nightmares arc, and Batman is basically going through all of Arkham, taking down everybody to get, to basically face off Bane or Thomas Wayne. So I like that we get that, and it almost brings a little full circle by the end of the title. But here, I mean, you just kind of name check who all you're getting. And I thought it was interesting, the book wrapping with, or bookending this issue, bookending with Maxi Zeus. As he's reading parts from Inferno, also known as Dante's Inferno. And then I think I wrote it down, and then it ends with, the marriage of heaven and hell. And I think so King, I feel like is a highly intelligent man that is a well-read gentleman. I am not. Like I don't have a list of this, but I do have of Dante's Inferno and the marriage of heaven and hell. But I do like it's very poetic using that here. I think in the issue, the meaning of those two writings applied here with Bane and Batman. It is, I don't know, there is something that's really cool to stop and think about why it's being used, what connections are made. One can't exist without the other. It's interesting. There's more than just, as much as I love the ironies of Batman and Joker's relationships, I do appreciate measuring up like Batman and Bane relationship as well, which I think King did a great job, not just in this story, but in the whole run.
Right. Yeah, I think starting it off with Dante's Inferno is just kind of letting you know that, hey, Bane is coming into Arkham. It's like abandon all hope. It's like going to hell kind of deal. So it's like
Oh shit.
Arkham. Yeah, it's just like Arkham is a crazy place. Just abandon all hope when you get here.
Yeah.
I also thought like when this whole issue kind of reminded me of Nightfall when Bane let everybody out.
Yeah.
Of Arkham. So I feel like Batman's just doing the reverse, and I guess Batman also does the reverse again in issue 70.
Yeah.
When he's fighting his way out of Arkham. But yeah, I think it's all well drawn as well. Go ahead.
So maybe I was just doing it wrong for all the longest time. The gentleman with Solomon Grundy, how do you pronounce his name? When you say it out loud.
Amygdala.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I first read Nightfall, this will age me. I was like 7. Okay. And there was a story in there that included him, and I always read it as Amygdala.
I mean, you were 7.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is like I should have seen the signs of strategist from long ago. That was the first hint of that. But I read it and reading out loud to myself so much, Amygdala, that when I would hear it, it's something, not that I sit there and watch programming where this word's thrown around all the time, but amygdala, and I'm like, wait, what? And then it was, oh, amygdala. So now it's still even a man in his 30s, and I'm like, oh, you're talking the amygdala. Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, I think we've all had that moment where
I've had too many.
Oh, I think me and my wife, there's like a French dish, and we thought it was called crudites.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were watching something on TV, and some French person said crudité. I was like, oh, crudites? That's how you pronounce it, crudité?
You looked at her and you were like, we tell no one.
We tell no one.
Say, okay.
No one knows. It's always been that.
But I know amygdala as well. I think it's cool. We don't necessarily need to see it. I think it's presented it's very impactful how it's presented that Bane takes care of Solomon Grundy and amygdala. Because that speaks words. However, he does click, the old button on the back of his helmet.
Gets a little extra juice.
Whoa. Oh man. And I love that when he breaks through that steel door of, he meets up with Jonathan Crane. I just think the issue, I said, it's like very action packed. This story is connected to what Tom King had done before this in the run. And it's connected to what he does later in the run. After this confrontation, there's a big break of Bane. And then when he, reappears in the run, it is like, but like, this is a great issue of like, man, there's just action and fights and just Bane making his way through Arkham. I love it. I love the pacing of it all. And that it's not for nothing. There's a reason, and what he's striving toward and going after, is Batman, because Batman is between Bane and Psychopirate. So like there, what I mean? It's not just doing this just so that it looks cool, because though that's great, you do need substance with a story for it to stick.
Right.
So I really like this issue, and another great spread, 2-page spread of Batman and Bane. Like Bane gets him, but Bane's all bloody, half his mask is ripped off. Batman seems ready to go. And I mean, then you turn the page and then it is, Zeus, who just loves to scream this stuff in the hallways, apparently.
Yeah, I thought that. I was like, all right, Maxie, just calm down.
He's a very lonely man in there, and this is why he has no friends in Arkham.
Yeah. What was your favorite Bane encounter out of him fighting the villains here?
Oh, what? Well. There's a fun throwback when he comes across Zaz, just because I was introduced to Zaz in Nightfall, and the Kelly Jones cover with Zaz terrified me as a kid, which I was so happy I got to actually tell Kelly Jones that. And then that issue really scared me because it was like a horror slasher story, and Zaz was just really terrifying. So the fact that it is like, oh, Bane and Zaz, I was introduced to both of them in Nightfall. That's cool. So that one got me like a little giddy. Oh man, I probably have to, even though it's one panel. I mean, I do like that, but I love Scarecrow always, and so I like that Crane is toying with him and thinks he's getting the upper hand, and then that doesn't happen. So then I could say maybe that's my Austin. I don't know.
I think first place would be his interaction with Freeze.
That's awesome.
Because when Freeze says a perfect human injected with the highest possible dosage of venom couldn't hope to emerge from anything over 1,500 cubic pounds. And at the time he's in 37 cubic pounds, and he just shatters it.
Yeah. He's like impossible as Bane walks away. Not impossible. There's something about like the matter of factness when villains have that of they're like, I like how the story just continues because he's just like, he's not sitting there, a cat playing with his food or anything. It's like taking care of business and continue on what he's doing on his path. Impossible, not impossible as he continues. I'm Bane,
he's like,
not impossible.
He's on a mission, just plowing through everybody. Throws Flamingo.
I gotta go kick Firefly's ass. The big.
I get why everybody. I get why everybody fought Bane. I don't understand why he sent Mad Hatter.
Gotta get them all.
Just punch through the face.
It's a Pokemon. I gotta catch them all. I guess. But the final issue. So, I mean, what a cover on that one as well. That's wild. Well done.
Yeah, that's a great cover.
Great image. And what I love, so it is almost, so you get the 2-page spread of Batman, of almost like the flashback of the first issue, not first issue of Rebirth, but of the I Am Gotham arc, second issue of Batman Rebirth, and him on the plane. You do kind of get a little bit of a connecting the dots, a quick catch up here of it's all connected. But I brought this up last episode. I know you heard it, but I'm going to bring it up again. That I just love the page of Batman in response to Bane. This is the end, Batman. And Batman says, you know how many times I've heard that? Rest in peace, Batman. There's no escape, Batman. Time to die, Batman. Every night, over and over and over, for so many years. This is the end, Batman. Every damn night, and yet I'm still here. And he's like a crouched, reset. Kind of like I love in The Dark Knight Rises when the big fight at the end and Batman goes up the steps, turns around, and does like a reset. There's something that's kind of like awesome, a really awesome feeling with that for me for some reason when Batman does that. And here, he just got his ass beat again, bloody and all that, but then it's like, no, because he's Batman. And it's exactly it, like he's even said, and yet I'm still here. And there he is. Oh, I love it. I just love it.
Yeah, I think it's great. To my knowledge, I don't think he's ever said anything like this before.
Not to my recollection either.
Not to my recollection, yeah. So it's just kind of like encapsulates the enduring spirit that he has. To like, I'm always going to keep fighting, even though I've been getting beat down for a couple issues now, but I'm still here.
Yeah. And then what's Bane say? And that's why I love this kind of matchup like this too, because it's not like what he just said scared Bane. Because what's Bane's response? I'm gonna kill you. And which Batman, like a continuation, like he was interrupted in what he was saying every damn night. And then and then they're at it again. And I mean, I think Bane it's another bit of Batman enduring punches, but we get in and out of something else. So this is a trend that we could end up seeing from Tom King of the narration you're seeing. You're not sure who's saying it.
Right.
Sometimes I think, pending my mood sometimes, and pending what's being written, how the story's, unfolding, sometimes it can get on my nerves. And then other times it's fun to sit there and read something that's connecting to what you're seeing, but it's not apparent how correlated it is. Mm-hmm. And then you get to the end, and then you do have the benefit now of like, oh, okay. So take the wedding issue. You have a Batman writing a letter on the left side, Catwoman writing a letter on the right side. There's just different ways you can go back and read that issue. You read it in it like each page, like you would any comic book, and then you get to the end. Or you can read it now, only reading Batman's side, then going back reading only Catwoman's side, like a variety of ways to do that. So this here, it was with me of kind of like, I read it because I forgot where it was going. And then I did go back and I only read the captioning after I finished up the issue. And I don't know, how do you feel about all of that period?
I originally, when I read it, I felt like it was him talking to himself.
Yes.
Like Bruce.
I think I started to too. Even this reading. And I was like, oh, it's Batman talking about, wait, hold on. This doesn't make sense. That's not Bruce.
Yeah, I read it as Bruce talking to Batman. And he's been, since the second issue of Rebirth, he's been kind of looking for this quote unquote good death.
Mm-hmm.
So that he can feel like he can make his parents proud, or so he can be done being Batman. And I think that even at the end of this issue, he's thinking, all right, I'm probably going to die now. I think this will be my good death.
What's her? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting her name in Man of Steel. She says, a good death is its own reward. Fiora.
Yeah.
A good death is its own reward. That's a great line. Yeah, that's and then by end, the way I always took it, but nothing says that I am correct in this. Also, anybody listening could be like, well, no shit, Ryan. But it was just Bruce having a conversation in his head with his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Which, maybe not with our parents, but it'd be surprising if all of us stepped back and thought about how many conversations we have in our head with ourselves. It's not that uncommon.
Yeah, it's not that uncommon. I don't know if I have that long of a monologue with myself, but
yeah, I don't think I do either.
Yeah.
But I
think oh, go ahead.
I do love that though. Bruce Thomas Wayne, my little boy all grown up, you don't need a good death for me to be proud of you. And Batman just says, yes, mother, I know. I haven't looked into it. I actually haven't I've never asked anybody if anybody felt the ending was anticlimactic, because you're going, at least the past two issues were just like bloody brawls. And then for it to end with Batman, which I love, I am Bane. And Batman says, yeah, I know you're Bane, but I think you forgot, headbutt, I'm Batman. And that does the job on Bane. I didn't know if anybody felt a little shortchanged by the end, or if they felt like that was great, if they were satisfied. I was completely satisfied with it. Because as you and I even talking here, it is like, I think talking about it made me realize just how much, he's enduring in all of this, all these fights. maybe his only real hit is that headbutt. So when Bane just thinks he has him on the ropes, it's like that's when Batman uses his tool. He exhausts Bane by making him fight all the Arkham inmates, lets him use up everything on him, and then hits him with the headbutt right in the right spot, knocks him out. That seems very Batman to me.
Yeah, I think Tom King has been doing a very good job of humanizing Batman. I think he also even said that on the last podcast.
Yeah.
But Batman is just so tired. He's so worn down at this point. He's feeling a particular kind of way, even after this fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Looking at all my notes. I missed his first name, but Campbell is mentioned in the second issue of the story, the quarterback for the Gotham football team. Is this the first mention of Campbell?
I don't remember when the first time he was mentioned. I just know that they talk about him throughout the entire run.
He becomes a great little Tom King joke throughout the run of Campbell, who is apparently the worst quarterback to ever play for the Knights.
Yeah, I mean,
I appreciate
that. At the end, he might have thrown that game-winning touchdown. Maybe.
He did. In my mind, he did.
Headcanon, he did.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that was like the last thing we haven't touched on that I have in my notes here. Is there anything as we edge towards finishing? Is there anything we didn't mention?
I think we got all of the Bane brutality in.
Yeah. Did we talk enough about Bane beating up everything? I think so, but
so how do you feel, how do you feel this story arc, closes out that first I Am trilogy of stories?
At this point, I felt like if we didn't see Bane again, then it's done. Psycho Pirate's locked up. Now Bane's going to be locked up. The recovery of Gotham Girl is coming. I'd feel, that I don't know the use for Bane at this moment. I do think it does close the book on Bane at the right time. 30 issues.
Yeah.
And then an even bigger Bane book is opened. What about you?
Yeah, I think it was a good stopping point or a good pause point. Obviously, if we didn't know what was coming up, I think it was a good stopping point. It was a good, good run. He fought Bane several times. He went to Santa Prisca.
Mm-hmm.
I really vibed with the Gotham and Gotham Girl origin story.
Yeah.
I thought that their origin story was relatable. I'm like, okay, I'm buying this. That happened especially on the second reread. But yeah, I felt like the first I Am series was it capped off very well. And then after this, obviously, it goes into the Button.
Yeah.
So I feel like it capped off very well.
Yeah. And Michael said last episode too and I couldn't think of any Batman characters that weren't used or mentioned or brought up in Tom King's run. I mean, it might even kind of start here I guess we didn't see Penguin. But I mean, even in the one page, we saw Joker. Ended up seeing Two-Face, Mad Hatter, Scarecrow, though it was Jonathan Crane, Edward Nygma. At this point, we've seen a lot of I mean, I guess we didn't see Tim Drake, but he was apparently dead at this moment in time. But I mean, we see a lot of the Bat family as well. Yeah, King was utilizing Gotham well.
Yeah, I think he hit all of the major heroes, major villains.
We didn't get Egghead.
Did not get
That's
Egghead.
Okay. One of these days.
He went down the list. Got some very underutilized villains. Obviously, Kite Man is the standout.
Of course. Hell yeah.
So, Yeah, I really, like I said earlier, I really dig Tom King's entire run on Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask you this: how do you feel like run for run? I guess out of the past three, or the three major ones, so it would be King's, Snyder's, and Morrison's.
For me, I don't say King's, Morrison's frustrating. Snyder, moments of greatness. King's most consistent. Morrison, he had quite a good ride, and then RIP, as I said on this show, really frustrated me. So experiencing that as the run went through was a lot of fun, because he was introducing a lot of stuff that was like, man, how does this connect? And then I don't feel like it fully did. It's like he was building up for RIP being the big ending, and then he got to RIP and was like, I'm not done. So Snyder came out the gate with Court of Owls, which was great. I think Death of the Family is great. And then from there on, he had some 0 year moments of it were really good. Other moments I was like, Bloom, I was like not really a fan of. So I mean, that one was like up and down, but when it was up, it was really up. And then Kings, I just kind of feel like it was just good throughout. I got a little impatient with the Nightmares arc. I was ready to
actually
get going.
I liked the very last issue of the Nightmares arc. The one where
it's the dance, right?
The one where they're dancing throughout like their different suits, the different eras. That was the one thing I told Tom King when I met him at MegaCon Orlando. I'm like, I know everyone loves like when Bruce and Selena and Clark and Lois go to the fair.
Yeah.
But that end of that Nightmares run, though.
What do you say to that?
I like that. He said, I think he said not too many people say that. And I'm like, yeah, but they're dancing through the eras. It's beautifully well drawn.
Mm-hmm.
The suits.
So
it's more Batcat.
This Nightmares read through was better because it was at my pace. Where even twice a month with Nightmares wasn't fast enough for me, because there was also the 2 Flash tie-in comics as well. So that prolonged finishing the Nightmare arc and getting, because I mean, we ended with, Thomas Wayne Batman behind Bruce as Bruce is hanging over Alfred. That was the last image. And it was like, oh, what does this mean? And then we had Nightmares for 4 months. Literally.
Yeah, that was probably a little long.
So I just got a little impatient with it. And so that's not on anybody but me. I just got impatient. But then even in read throughing it again, I got to say, like, that was the only part of the whole read through that I wasn't loving it. It was fine to me. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think like you said, Tom King's run gets the award for most consistent.
Yeah.
I think Snyder's run, he just came out the gate so hot. Like his highest high was higher than everyone else's high with Court of Owls. But then after that, it never got anywhere near that same level of, I guess, because it is a classic. So
as much as I love Death of the Family, I do think Court of Owls is better. But I was completely, that's not necessarily fair. I feel like, I mean, maybe you could say that Court of Owls was just so good and hot out the gate, but his follow-up being Death of the Family was so good that I was completely fine of like, oh yeah, that's really good. And then, I just don't think stories after that measured up to what he came out the gate. You could almost say like your first at bat is a grand slam. You hit some singles and doubles afterwards. It's like, yeah, that's cool. But remember when he hit a grand slam when he first went up to bat? That's almost like that's what that could have felt like a little. Everybody always goes to
Yeah.
baseball references, but
Yeah, I think it's just because it was the first story arc. If it would have came later on, like, okay, this is great.
yeah.
But since he just started off at like a 10 out of 10,
Mm-hmm.
the next one, unless it's also a 10 out of 10, it's a quote unquote step down. But no,
Yeah.
I liked Snyder's run. I
Mhm.
think, like you said, toward the end, like Bloom. What was the one where Gordon was in the mech suit? Heavy,
Super heavy.
super heavy. That wasn't for me and my Batman
I liked the
sensibilities.
Bruce. Yeah, I liked the Bruce moments in those stories.
Mm-hmm.
But Gordon as Batman, I wasn't a massive fan of that part. Which ended
Yeah, I
up,
think
it kind of is that last, year's worth of Batman stories in that run.
and Morrison, like you said, I liked a lot of Morrison. The more I think about it,
Mhm.
I've just never had to stop and do so much research to figure out what the heck is going on. Like Tom King here, 2 poems. I didn't know one of the poems. I Googled it,
Yeah.
take you 5 minutes, watch a little YouTube video. Okay, I get it. I understand what's going on here.
Mhm.
Morrison was like every 2 pages. I'm like,
Yeah.
Dead Man's Hand this, Stars this.
Yeah. Batman is R&R. The what?
I'm like, okay. But no,
Yeah.
I think I like it. I think they're all great and good in their own ways.
Yeah.
I think I just like the Tom King one for its consistency.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because it's Bane centric.
Bane. I heard he's your favorite Batman villain.
You will
A credible
you will
source.
forever hear that.
I can't reveal. Austin, let's hop into some favorites. I would like to know, what was your favorite part of I Am Bane?
My favorite part, I will say, there was just so many. I think the original fight between Batman and Bane, after he offers him the deal and he just says no. And then they go into the whole fighting in the alley, and then Bane goes into his monologue like, I'm not a riddle, I'm not a joke. I think that part was my favorite.
Nice. I do love the Batburger sequence and scene.
Mm-hmm.
There's something to be said about glorifying something that's terrible, and a lot of us don't realize when we're doing it and how messed up that can be sometimes. It's also funny. Like flat out, it is funny, and it is almost a calm before the storm, which I do appreciate that in some like deep stories, some heavy stories, when you do get that calm before the storm, and they know, the characters involved know, this is the calm before the storm. Something about that I really enjoyed. But it's definitely, for me, Batman and I'm Still Here.
Yeah,
It's one page,
that's
but
a close second.
That's just there for me because it's so true. Batman loses his teeth and so many issues, but somehow he always has all of his teeth. So I love that too. He lost some teeth in this story, and I don't see any gaps when he's saying that, 'cause he's still getting back up. I'm still here. How about a favorite panel? That's tough.
Favorite. Can I do a splash page?
Yeah, that's a panel. It's a big panel, but it's a panel.
Big panel. It's when Batman's on top of the clock tower, on top of the McLean clock tower. It's just drawn so well. David Finch. The cape is flowing. Everything about it, other than the actual clock time, is chef's kiss.
You zoom in and you don't even see that. So there you go. As much as I love there's the I Am Bane of the Robins hanging in the Batcave. That's a great panel because it's very impactful. I love Catwoman's I Am Cat. That's great. I can't tell which of the two that I do like. Lightning strikes, Batman's underneath the Arkham Asylum sign, or lightning strikes, the doors open and Batman's not there. I have not decided which of those two I like more. The one has Batman in it, of course, but it's almost like as I almost say annoyingly often of just an image, no words. I can create a story. I almost feel like there's more story because you don't know what's beyond that open door. If you were to just be just given that image from David Finch, and it's like Bane's looking at an open door at Arkham Asylum that can cause a lot of questions and a lot of imagination. But I do like the thought of Arkham Asylum and Batman's there and Bane's coming to him. So it's got to be one of those two. I don't know. I'll flip one of Harvey's coins. Would you like to see I Am Bane adapted in animation?
Yes, 100 times over.
Whoa, 100 times over. My goodness.
I am still waiting on this kind of Bane to be represented in any type of like animation and or live action. I think that Bane, like we said, being just as like stronger than Batman, just as smart as Batman, him being juxtaposed with Batman, I need to see that live action and or animated.
Gotcha. Okay. I would love it. And I think you can make a movie out of it by including the I Am Suicide portion of Bane.
Yep.
Because that can make this part stick. Because Bane kind of has he has a little bit of a point here in he'd given up everything. He was on his island kind of minding his own business. He's like, I didn't even go to Gotham to get Psycho Pirate. I had somebody else do it and bring him to me. And then you broke into my island and took him to where now I have pain that I can't manage, so I've got to use Venom. So he's kind of in a weird way. He's blaming Batman. I think that is a great setup to have at the front of your movie, animated movie, and then the second half is I Am Bane. Build up to all that destruction, Bane fighting, blood, and Gotham. It's like that could be an awesome animated movie, and you'd get your Bane that you're longing for.
I don't ask for too much.
I don't ask for much. Just give me Bane hooked up, destroying everything. I think that could be a great story.
Yeah, I think it would work.
Austin, final thoughts. I Am Bane.
I think it is a must read.
Must read. My goodness.
I feel like it's a must read. If you were to read any arcs out of the Tom King run, just because you had the time of day, outside of the Bat-Cat stuff, I would say this would be the one to read because it has the most action. The art is phenomenal. And you get some very like top tier Batman moments, like the I'm still here.
Yeah.
The reset.
I Am Bane.
Yeah, I feel like you get everything you need for a quick little short like Saturday read in this story.
Yeah. Echo that. There's maybe a couple in the front half pre-wedding. I don't think post-wedding you could do it. Pre-wedding, there's a couple of stories that are like, this is all you need. You don't need to do homework. And I Am Bane is definitely one of them. Very action-packed. It's drawn wonderfully by David Finch. I think the story is great. Builds on what's come before, but can be a little bit standalone. And is a great setting of the table for the threat that Bane's going to be later in this run that we didn't know at the time that it first came out. I didn't know where this was going. So it was, I don't know, it was just really well done. And I think it is of it this run. And so by saying this run, you have to include this story as well, helped elevate to give like a defining Bane story. I think he'll always be linked to being Nightfall and that being the Bane story because he came out the gate hitting a grand slam. But this one's up there too it's one of the best Bane stories. And I Am Bane is included in that. So there you go. I Am Bane. If you haven't read it, we just spoiled it, but go ahead and read it anyway because we didn't ruin it completely for you. And if you haven't read it in a while, go back and revisit it. You won't be disappointed. So, Austin, thanks for coming on the Batman Book Club. We got you here.
Having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
We got you here. Do you have anything to plug or tell people where they can follow you, talk to you, admire your wisdom, all that stuff?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at arod720.
Boom.
So I keep it simple. I don't have as many plugs as Pete.
No. Who does?
Who does?
I mean, who does, really? Looking back on it all. So awesome. Follow Austin there. That's how we got to talking. So I think he'll talk to you too, and he'll be a gentleman about it. As long as you say that your favorite story is I Am Bane.
Start off with I Am Bane, and we can get to talking.
I Am Bane. So anyways, let's talk about, I don't know, politics. I'm just kidding. So if you want to follow the Batman Book Club, variety of ways you can do that. Instagram and Twitter at the Batman BC for latest episode drops, upcoming episodes, sometimes some giveaways. Austin's familiar. Make sure that you subscribe to the Batman Book Club YouTube channel. Road to No Man's Land is the journey I've been going on with Peter R. Barra. New ones of those are going to be popping up all over the place. So yeah, make sure you go there and check that out. If you want to support the shows, a variety of ways you can do that. Number one, patreon.com/thebatmanbc. Number two, tpublic.com, type TBBC for the Batman Book Club. And if you don't want to spend any money at all, it's 100% A-OK. The easiest, quickest, most impactful thing that you can do to support the show is to rate and review the show wherever you listen to it. So Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google Play, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to podcasts, just rate and review it, because the more reviews the show gets, the more it helps spread the word. And as we all know, the word is panic. So for Austin Rodriguez, I am Ryan Lauer. And until next time, remember that, guys.